Cue the intro music. Hey, everybody. This is Maple Leafs Win, Lose, or Cry, a Maple Leafs podcast. I'm Brandon Wilkin.
I'm James.
And I'm Chase. So what we're going to do is we're going to just start off with going into the line predictions that we feel the Leafs are going to be going with this year. Some of mine might be a little bit of a spicy take since I am not a Leafs fan, so hold on with me here. So for the first line,
And
I have
we are going to do
what
healthy lineups. Healthy lineups because
healthy lineups. What we think is going to be their top and their best lineup possible that we feel is available. So left wing, I have Michael Bunting. Center would be Matthews. Right wing Marner. Line 2, Kerfoot with Tavares in between him and Nylander. Then you're going to have David Kampf in between Ritchie and Kasha. And then the fourth line, Spezza between Simmons and Engvall. As we switch to the D, top pairing, I have Muzzin with Riley, then Brody with Dermott, and then Hall with Sandin. And then the goaltending is pretty straightforward so far. Campbell is going to be the starter. They've already announced it going into game one. Mm-hmm. And Mrazek's going to have to fight from behind. But with the way Campbell played last year, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to just stick with the forwards for now. And then we'll do and then we'll go defense just so we can kind of like remember what everyone's doing for forwards. I'm going to do pretty close, but I'm going to have Bunting on the top line on the left, Matthews centering, Marner right wing. Second line, I'm going to have Ritchie, Tavares, Nylander. Third line, I'm going to have... where'd it go? I'm going to have Kerfoot on the left, Kampf in the center, Kasha on the right. And then bottom pairing, I'm going to have Simmons, Spezza, and Mike Amadio.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay, I'm going to go with something a little different than both of you here. So I only want to talk. I didn't even do a lineup for defense because I think the defensive lineup is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
So I have Ritchie. So I'm gonna go left wing, center, right wing. And I've got Ritchie playing with with Matthews and Marner. Because of his size and his ability to stand in front of the net and not get moved around, I think Ritchie's gonna work well with them. I got Bunting on the second line on left wing with Tavares and Nylander. Now this is where things get interesting. I think the third line, they should run Kerfoot, Spezza, and Kasha. And I think Kampf goes on the fourth line with Engvall and Simmons.
I actually like that lineup.
So I know that there's been a lot of talk this offseason bringing Kampf in, and he's a shutdown guy, and he wins faceoffs, and those are kind of his two big things he brings in. I know he's not a goal scorer. We know he's not going to get a lot of points.
Yeah.
But when everything we're hearing, because we haven't really seen him play, and I didn't see him play on Chicago much, but with everything that we've heard is this guy wins faceoffs, and this guy is good in the defensive zone. And I did a little research today, and like looking at his faceoff winning percentage, Tavares and Spezza both have a much better winning percentage than he does. So I don't see why we're giving him more playing time than someone who can win a faceoff in the faceoff dot.
But the only thing is with Kampf over the last 4 seasons, starting from his first NHL, -9, -6, -11, -3. So right there, he's not showing. He's showing good support in the faceoff dot. But when you're looking at a defensive shutdown guy, you don't want to see the minuses start racking up this early in his career.
A guy on Chicago.
Yeah, like up until this point, Chicago's been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Even when you go back into the Czech league when he was playing, -11, -6, -9. Okay. So right now he's a career minus guy wherever he goes.
But like James said, he's not a point getter, so he's just playing defense.
Yeah.
Essentially playing defense, so he's not getting pluses for his own play. Like that's essentially the shutdown line. It's like, yeah, they're going to get minuses, but it should be much worse. Like that line's not scoring and not generating any points. So the fact that he's a -11, you look at his defensive stats though, it's just like, okay, like his face-off stats are nuts.
Yeah, like you're putting him out there in the defensive zone against a top line.
Yeah.
He's gonna get scored on, but I can't put him on the third line without seeing him play. And that's why I have Spezza there. Spezza's proven. We saw what he did last year.
Spezza also brings that veteran leadership, so he's going to be a good spot in that third line. And to be honest, I think Camp's going to spend more time on the PK than anything, just because, as you said, that face-off presence is huge there.
He's going to be solid.
And that's what Chicago fans said about him, right? Is his job is to shut down the defensive zone, and that's where I think you'll spend most of his time is on the penalty kill. And I think that's where we're really going to utilize him the most.
He's going to be phenomenal there. Like we didn't really have anybody that could do that.
No, we had Marner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, he was our penalty kill guy we went to, and I think having a specific guy whose role is to come in and take that position, I think that's going to help us huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking forward to him.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the 1 and 2 that we jumped back and forth on, Ritchie and Bunting.
Yeah. So you guys both had Bunting on the second line, right? You had Ritchie on the top.
No, I had Bunting on the first line.
So why did you guys have the first line?
Well,
the reason why I put. Oh, sorry. Wilkes, you go.
I'm thinking it's the same reason you're going to say, Chase. I think Ritchie's going to be a little too slow to keep up with Marner and Matthews, even though he's going to. The thing I loved about Hyman, right, is that he would get into the corners because Matthews and Marner will never do that. Ritchie will do that too, but he's like a step behind. Hyman is a step behind Matthews and Marner, but Ritchie's a step behind them. I think Bunting will go into the corners a bit. And he's got some scoring potential, and he's a little bit faster than Ritchie, so I think he'll keep up with him a lot better.
Yeah, I just think Bunting adds a little bit more of a flash and dash that first line, because without having like a Hyman that has, as you said, that a little bit, he's going to still be slower than what Matthews and Marner's were, but he's going to be quicker than Ritchie. So if you throw Bunting there, who's got, I believe James, you said it before too. Last year he finished with a 26% shooting percentage. And I got to watch him a few times against the Avs, and the kid's phenomenal. Like he sees the ice very well. He's got a quick release, so it gives you more weapons and it helps open up a little bit more space for Matthews. But also too, for Nick Ritchie being drafted 10th overall in 2014, even in Anaheim when they were still a pretty decent squad from like 2015, 2016, 2017, he never really produced the way that people said he was going to, and I just think he's not a step too slow. He's 2 steps too slow to be up there with the big boys. And there's a reason why he fell really quick when Pasternak came back, is he couldn't keep up with the second line, couldn't keep up with the first line in Boston. So then he ended up playing bottom 6 minutes, and he just completely disappeared. Can't get to the corners, and he doesn't have that offensive ability to be on a top line.
So this is where I think differently. Mm-hmm. I'm glad he's slower. I don't want him bull rushing into the corners, because that's what Hyman did, and look how it turned out in the postseason. Marner and Matthews, they didn't do a whole bunch. They both put up assists, but no one put up goals, and that's what they're on the ice to do.
Yeah.
And I think by having Hyman there, he gave them a scapegoat not to go into the corners. He was like, you know what? We'll let him go in. He can do the dirty work. They're going to sit back and be lazy. Mm-hmm. With Ritchie being too slow, someone's going to have to step up. Whether it's not dump and chase or whether it's carry the puck over the blue line. With Ritchie being too slow, I think that will put more of a burden on the other two to step up more offensively, not just scoring, but actually moving the puck into the offensive zone without dumping it. That's why I like him there. Not to mention, the dude's 6'3", 236 pounds. You plant him in front of the net and fire pucks at him all day long. I don't care what happens. You're not going to move him. And I think Ritchie, his biggest contribution to this team will be the power play. I think when you get enough players out there who are big, or who are quick and who can shoot, you get a big guy in front of the net. Because we're not breaking into the zone as much on the power play. His job is to stand in front of the net, deflect the puck in, which he can do. He did it on Boston. And if the puck goes into the corner, it's not that far away. He can get there and he can win that fight. So I think where we're really going to benefit from Richie is on the power play. And the last 2 seasons that he actually put up, I don't want to say decent points. I mean, 31 points and 26 points. But of those, 9 of them were on the power play. Like, this guy is good on the power play.
The only reason, though, and I've said this to several people, and my brother and dad are both Bruins fans, so I've watched a lot of games with them as well. But the main reason why Richie had the 26 points last year was he played on the top line for the first, I think it was 2 months. And he was playing with Bergeron and Marchand, and then he was on the top power play for that play. But the minute Pastrnak came back, Richie fell to the second unit, and then it was probably, I think it was a few weeks after that, he fell out of the power play because he wasn't able to do that role of being in front of the net. They actually ended up using Charlie Coyle instead, who has more offensive ability and is about the same size. If not, he's a little skinnier. So that's one thing that I've seen Richie a little bit more than some people have in the Toronto area. And to me personally, he's a bottom 6 guy.
So with that being said, though, who has a better power play last year, Boston or Toronto? Because we all know how Toronto power play went.
They did great for the first month.
The first month, great. And then it dropped off. Whereas now you're bringing a guy like Richie, who we didn't have, and you put him there and see what he can do.
I'm not saying like I wouldn't try it, but I'm just saying like the amount of offensive talent you guys have going into the year, I'd be loading that first power play unit just to try to bury quick, so that way you don't have to go to a second.
No, I wouldn't. I'd be putting him on that first line, get him in front of the net, because he can deflect the puck in, and he's good at those little dirty rebounds, and I think that's where we have to utilize him. Is right.
You're looking for David Clarkson 2.0, aren't you?
Well, you know what? He got 30 goals, didn't he? So let Marner and Matthews fire the puck at him, and he can just kind of duck and weave. Yeah. All right. So Bunting, what do we like so much about him, other than his speed? Like, what if he plays on the second line with Tavares and Nylander? What do you think of him there?
If we put him on we put him on the first line and the second line, he's gonna do good regardless. I'm just thinking, I know, Chase, you're saying Richie's a bottom 6 guy, but based on how much Dubas overpaid him, and yes, it is an overpayment, even though I do like Nick Ritchie. Based on what he paid him, he's going to be on the top 6. And the way I'm seeing it, if he's going to be on the top 6, I'd rather him on the second line with the slower Tavares. With Tavares, who's a little bit slower than Matthews and Marner, who are a bit more high-flying. Bunting would be good on either line, I think, because his shooting percentage is pretty good. But he gets points. He shoots the puck. He'll get in front of the net, kind of like Richie. Maybe not as good as Richie, not as big as Richie. But I think with the extra speed, he'd be better suited to that top line. Whereas Richie being a step slower, playing a good game where he can get in front of the net, he can go into the corners and stuff like that. But being a little bit slower, him being pretty much forced to be on the top 6 because of that contract, he'd be better on that second line, in my opinion.
Well, here's my question: if Nick Ritchie puts up 45 points this year, is he now a cheap contract?
Absolutely.
If he's able to put up anywhere between 40 to 50, yes. The contract at that point of what, 2.5?
It's 2.5.
Looks good.
But 2.5 for what they signed him at, like where he was at, it's too much. Especially where the Leafs cap situation was at.
26 points last year is pretty good. He can hit 40 if he plays on the top 2 lines, making that a good contract.
Yeah, so it's a nice.
I go back to look what he did in the back half of the year. He wasn't able to keep his spot in the top 2 or in the top 6 in a team with Boston that is they are defensive. I will say that, but their offense still rolls very well. So now you're throwing him in Toronto where it is all offense. Like, it's a very offensive team, but he's got to be able to produce before anything can be done. But I still say it's an overpayment at 2.5 at this moment.
Yeah.
The difference between Boston and Toronto, though, Boston had someone they could put in that spot. Toronto doesn't.
No.
Right? They have Mikheyev, who's out at the moment.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks, exactly, which is more than enough time for Richie to prove himself.
That's fair.
You saw last year, Mikheyev didn't play on that top spot. And when he did, he wasn't producing.
You know what I just realized? Sorry to interrupt you. I just realized we said that these lineups are for healthy. None of us put McCabe in the lineup.
The reason I didn't is because he's out 6 to 8 weeks.
Yes, right? But we said healthy best case, but none of us put McCabe in, and I think that's a little telling.
I also think he'll be a trade chip down the road if there's any options.
Well, he's already.
So
I think his trade value is like pretty basement level right now because of how he's been playing, and he's already demanded a trade, and everyone knows he's demanded a trade.
I think he's going to come in hot though this year.
I hope so.
I think when he comes off that injury, because this is a contract year for him and he wants out, I can see him coming in real hot, putting in some good effort, and hopefully getting moved by the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, before we move up Bunting, I want to say one thing real quick that I might sound insane for. He reminds me of JVR. I watched highlights of him when he played on Arizona for those however many games it was, and he had that 26% shooting average. Or actually, the way he stood in front of the net and was able to redirect the puck was insane in those. And even when he played in the lower divisions, he reminded me of a JVR. And
which
if
is
we
kind of
get that out of him, I'm excited.
I could see
which
that.
Which is kind of funny because he doesn't have the size of JVR, and he's actually better coming off when he's better coming off the sidewall and when he's got a lane. But yeah, I could. His hand-eye is it's silly for someone who hasn't played that much.
Yeah, it is really good. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen there with him.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So now we got Comp, right? I don't think there's a lot to talk about him yet.
No, I think we're all decent fans of the guy.
I don't think he's going to be bad.
No.
I just don't know how good he's going to be. I think he's going to be good for our team. I don't know how good, though.
I don't have any expectations. Like, it's to be honest, I think Comp is one of those players. Is you get what you get. Like, you're not getting points out of him. You know he's gonna be good in the face-off dot. Great. That's it.
The one thing stats don't show on paper is how shut down of a player someone can be. Right? Well, you look at points, and points don't tell a good story because he was on a line that was meant not to score.
Yeah, and that's where you have to go into those advanced analytics like Corsi and everything. But again, a lot of times too, when you look at advanced analytics, same as a lot of people look at plus minus. Okay, that's great. Your Corsi number is this, but that doesn't mean you know the game or you know how to play the game. Like it's all about what you get when you see him in the lineup playing with those players. Like as you said though, like when he's playing a bottom six of some teams, it's going to be okay. You're straight shutdown. When you move to another team that tries to roll 4-ish lines, you can get something better out of him. Like look at Philip Deneau in Montreal. He was a bottom six guy till he rised, and then boom, he took off and became a top six guy for Montreal for a few years. Like Comp could be that guy. Who knows?
Now he's getting paid.
Yeah, he's getting big paycheck.
Pretty well for himself. Yeah. All right. Do you want to move on to goaltending then?
I don't think there's much to talk about in goaltending. I think we know who the starter is. I
don't feel confident with our starter though.
But we know. Okay, so we know who the goalies are. It's Jack Campbell and it's Peter Mrazek. There are some frightening things I heard, which James, you're right about this. Both of them haven't played a full season. Neither of them have been Peter Mrazek had been a starter, tandem starter, but like he's not that great, and Campbell's hasn't been a full starter like he was last year, but not a full season. He played like 40-something games, 30-something games. Sorry?
I'll say he wasn't even a starter last year.
No, he technically wasn't. Yeah.
Starter who got injured, which forced Campbell as the starter.
And Campbell is injury prone. Mrazek, I'm not too sure about. In that regard,
He's had some injuries in the past as well.
Yeah, I knew he had injuries. I just wasn't comfortable saying he's injury prone. Yeah. And I'd
put him in that category.
There's with two injury prone goalies, both making not that great money. Both of them haven't been career starters. There is, and I don't want to scare you, James, too much, but there is a very possible scenario where Michael Hutchinson plays some games this year.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I am
I'm happy about
actually,
it, but
I'm actually going to rebuttal that. I don't think Hutchinson sees the ice at all.
I mean, I hope not.
who do
I
you
think they roll with Joseph Wall. He was their draft pick. Hang on, I want to get
Isn't
the
he injured?
information correct.
Because I know Ian Scott got injured in the preseason, and I'm pretty sure Joseph Wall got injured as well. I'm not. I'm not sure
From
how
what I
long the injuries are
know,
though. Ian
from what I
Scott.
know, if like the Wall injury, it's nothing. Like
Yeah.
it's like your day to day stuff.
Okay.
But he
Because
was drafted third round in 2016. But the numbers this kid put up playing at Boston College and then through the U.S. Development program, I think he's going to be the future. Ian Scott's good, but I think Joseph Wall is going to be right now that would be your future goalie,
yeah,
and that's why I don't think Hutchinson sees the ice.
I agree with that. Uh, it sucks for
when
Ian
you say
Scott.
next year, 2 years,
Sorry, what, James? You cut out a little bit there.
I was saying when is he our future? Like is it a next year thing? Is it the year after? Is it the year after? And is he ever a starter?
I think he becomes a starter. I say he will be up with the squad because Mrazek signed what, a 2-year deal?
2 year.
Yeah, 3.
I would
Was it 3?
say it was a 3-year deal.
Hold on,
I would say, but within that 3-year time frame, I would say Wall would be either like the 1B goalie or he'd be taking over as the 1A.
Okay.
I have the same feeling that I had with Jimmy Howard back when I was like 13 when he was playing for Grand Rapids. The following year, he became the starter in Detroit, and he didn't let that go for 11 years. So this is going to be it'd be interesting to see how Wall does.
Yeah, he did well there. So I got 2 fears about Campbell.
You were right. It is 3 years, by the way.
Yeah. 3 years at I think it's 3.8 million each.
Yeah.
So my fear about Campbell, I got 2 fears. I got one is 86 games total is what this guy has played in the NHL. That's it. 86 games. Now, he could be an average goaltender, and his contract is up at the end of this year, which means he's getting re-signed. We don't know how much money it's for.
I mean,
If
yeah.
he does anything like he did last year, I'm a happy camper because I got a fantastic goaltender.
Except, how do we afford him?
However, if we want to keep him as a fantastic goaltender, you can kiss Riley goodbye.
Dude, I'm kissing Riley goodbye now. And I know we're gonna get into that conversation. I know we are. He's not resigning with the Leafs.
I disagree. I think he could.
I would love that. Yeah. So here's the thing: do you want Campbell to play great and lose Riley, or do you want him to play like shit, and then we resign Riley for more money, and then we don't have a goalie?
Ask me again at the trade deadline. So I don't have an answer for you right now.
Everything's horrible.
It's
I
not
love the
a
little
good
swerve.
situation.
He's just going. He's deflecting.
Yeah, I don't. I wish I had a better answer for it, but the story is like both contracts are up this year.
Yeah.
And if Campbell plays well, we're losing one of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the future that the Leafs have.
You know. The thing is, we're losing one regardless. Yeah, we're losing one regardless.
The only way we can keep them is if Campbell gets injured, which I don't want. But if he gets injured and misses majority of the season and plays average, they could sign him for a 2-year,
bridge or something like that. Yeah, I got
you.
With the Kessel contract ending, that's given us 1.2 million.
Yeah,
you can make enough room to keep Riley on.
That is true.
But
it also depends on Riley's season this year.
Yep.
Yeah, if Riley goes off, that range of anywhere between 8 to 9 million won't be hard for a team to sign him at.
There are so many question marks that time will tell.
Here's another question mark. You know who else is up this year? Rasmus Sandin.
So is Liljegren.
Yeah, but I think we talked about this offline. We kind of know what I'd like to keep him for a couple more years, but I mean I don't want to lose both. We can't lose both.
No. So I talked to my OHL insider today, and that would be my brother. So when we were talking about it, one thing that benefited Sandin, because we were discussing how there was such a discrepancy with their development.
Yeah.
was when Sandin came over, he went straight to the O. So we had, I believe it was a year or two with Sault Ste. Marie to get seasoned, to get used to the play, get used to the ice.
Mm.
What happened was when Liljegren got drafted and was coming over, he was supposed to report to London with the Knights.
Mm-hmm.
However, in that import draft that happens every year, the Niagara Ice Dogs drafted him and blocked him from going to any OHL teams. He did not want to go to Niagara. So he lost a year development in North America there, got mono. Then when he healed from mono, got hurt. And then he jumped right into the A, which now you're playing against bigger, faster guys. Mm. You're playing on smaller ice. So it's almost that now he needs a change of scenery regardless, just so that way he can get a fresh start and find his game if that's possible right now.
Sorry, I admit the first part. You said that he went to the Sioux for a bit, right? Did I hear that correctly?
That was Rasmus Sandin. He went to the Sioux before going into the A.
So he's the one who's getting signed then.
I think he's the one that they'll keep, and they should move Liljegren.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Sandin will re-sign with the Leafs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll sign for a lot, unless he has a ridiculous year this year.
That's the thing. He hasn't had a full year with on the big team yet, right? If he goes off,
full year yet.
But like he's only making 900 or like sub 900 against the cap. If he has an okay year, where are we getting $2 million from?
Phil Kessel.
Yeah, but you wanted to go give that to Riley.
I don't care where it's coming from, where it's going.
Phil Kessel. Just one
Kessel comes off.
Kessel comes back to the Leafs
for $1.2 million
for trade deadline.
No, I don't know what's gonna happen there yet. Like there are so many question marks with the team that who knows what's gonna happen.
I just think, above all else, if you lose Morgan Riley on waivers or to the free agency, inexcusable. Absolutely, you lost Hyman to free agency this year, and that's kind of a blow. Like I wouldn't have paid him that much. I love Zach Hyman, but I'm not paying him that kind of money. But if you lose Morgan Riley as well for nothing, and you're not getting any return on these guys, like that, he's a top defenseman on our team. That's inexcusable.
It's inexcusable unless there's a legitimate shot at the cup.
Yeah.
But we go again. Say we, like, you know what? We're going to keep him through the trade deadline. We got this, and we lose in the first round. I mean, I think we can all agree Dubas is gone at that point.
I would think so.
Like, shot into the bloody sun. But, you know, we're going to, like you're saying, there's so many things to think about there. So many different things can happen this year.
Yeah.
The other thing the Leafs can do, too, is they can almost set an internal deadline where it's like, let's say there is a cup push. They're in the playoffs. They're going to go. You have until, let's say, the second round of that entry draft in the summer to move him for anything.
Yeah.
Trade his rights. Try to do a sign and trade. That would be your deadline there. If you don't move him, then he's gone for nothing, and then you're sitting there with your hands in the air going, well, we did it again.
Well,
and then it's back to the drawing board.
This is the year. This is the year.
Here's my theory. They're not going to trade him at the deadline. They're going to hold him to the postseason because the Maple Leafs are going to finish first in their division. And we're going to walk into the Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay, you know what? Let's move on to that. I want to hear your division picks.
So
for the Leafs division, I want to hear your picks. James, let's hear it. Your top four.
I only have 4 picks.
Yeah.
Because the bottom 4 don't matter.
We know who the top 4 are.
Exactly.
I think we know.
The bottom 4 because they're interchangeable. I don't think any of the bottom 4s are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Even in a wild card spot, I don't think it's possible.
No.
Habs the only possible chance for a wild card.
I was thinking the Habs for a while until what's been happening recently with them, like with they're not gonna have Price for the first month or two. They lost Deneau. They don't have Weber, so I'm thinking they're out of the equation now.
Yeah, Montreal's they've made some moves, but they haven't improved. They've replaced what they lost.
Yeah,
I would beg to differ, but we'll go with the picks first.
We'll get
all right.
Let's go with picks first.
So coming in first, obviously, Maple Leafs, right? I know. So I'll walk you through how it's going to go, though. I think Boston's going to come fourth because
that's spicy.
That's a spicy take.
They're going to be a dangerous offensive team this year, but I think defensively they're going to be good, not great, and I don't think their goaltending is as good as it has been.
I'll agree to that.
I don't think. I think without Rask, I know they just signed on Buddy there. I forget his name now. Allmark. Thank you.
Ulrich.
Oh, I got the U right. That's a win.
So just letting our audience know. First episode here, James is going to mispronounce most of the names he says.
Yeah.
And when we get to the Swedish and European guys, by God help us.
So my theory is Boston's coming fourth.
Okay.
Tampa is coming third. I don't think Tampa's going to finish first or second, and they may even come fourth. Like it's going to be tight, but I don't think they're coming anywhere above 3. Because why would they? Why should they?
Because they're Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, you're right.
What did they lose? They lost Keith Yandel and some.
Brandon, it doesn't matter what they lost. They're Tampa Bay Lightning. They have one of the top defensive pairings in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They have an absolutely dominant offense and a goalie who can shut down any situation. Yeah. Why do they need to push themselves to finish first? I think they can
because then they can play the Leafs first round and have an easy first round win.
Doesn't matter. I think they can take. Doesn't matter who they play in the first round. They're gonna beat them.
Yeah.
I think Tampa Bay Lightning is going to go for the Stanley Cup. I think they're gonna win it for a third time. And if the Leafs don't win, I hope Tampa does win it.
3-peat.
I want to see Tampa get that 3-peat.
A 3-peat would be sick.
Because the last 2 they've won, people have put asterisks beside them. Oh, one was the bubble, one was shortened season.
Please.
If Leafs don't win it, I want Tampa to walk in there and just wipe the floor with everybody so they can wipe all those comments around and be like, we are this dominant of a team. Watch us.
Whoever thinks those have asterisks on them, like...
But in the regular season, I don't think they need to go all out to be a number 1 team. I think they can take the foot off the gas pedal, coast through, win the games that they need to, clinch playoff spot, and then it's go time. So that's why I don't think they're going to come top 2 in the division. And I think Florida is going to be able to prove something. They're going to take the second spot, and the Maple Leafs are coming out hot, especially with the release of the All or Nothing series, where it showed Sheldon Keefe getting on the players after they were winning 10 games in. This year, he can turn around and look at them and be like, I told you last year, look what happened. This year is different. And I think they've added enough depth, and they have the hunger this year that they're going to make it.
I want to believe you, but as I say every time we have this conversation, they said that last year. They said this is the year last year. They said things will be different last year and the year before that, and it keeps happening. So when I hear it's going to change, we have the hunger this year, I'm like, yeah, all right, show me. Like,
they're going to.
I bloody hope so. I'm sick of hearing it's this year, it's this year, it's this year.
I was looking at the schedule earlier today. I think they're going to go 0-6 or 0-7, right?
Really?
That's how confident I am. I think they're going to come out swinging. I think that, well, if you look at their first, like I had it up earlier, if you look at their first couple games there,
it's a pretty big cakewalk. It's not that hard of a schedule.
Not hard games.
No.
If they come out and they do what they're able to do, and they come out hungry, they can go 0-6 or 0-7.
You mean 7-0?
6-0, 6-0, 7-0.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because if you go 0-6, 0-7, I bet you Keith's fired within 4 seconds.
7-0.
But again,
it's a pretty easy start, which I think they need, because once they hit, I think it's game 9, that's when it starts getting serious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If you look at the schedule there, once they hit game, it's either 8 or 9. I think they hit Carolina, Vegas, Tampa, Boston. Like, that's when you're starting to get
the hard stuff.
You go through Murderer's Row at that point.
Yeah, essentially.
What I mean. I think they're going to, wipe the floor with them, too. but I think they need to come out of the gate real strong.
They need to
and get those first 6-7 wins.
Okay.
I don't want to get off topic too much, but Chase, just you didn't see any of the Leafs all or nothing thing, right?
No. I didn't want to waste my time.
Fair. Chase, let me know if you agree with me on this, James. But I think one of the things that documentary did, which I think was pretty smart, was they showed, like you said, they showed Keith getting mad at them even when they were on winning streaks because it's like you're winning, but you're winning the wrong way, and trying to put that winning attitude in them. It didn't work, and because he was right. I think it was good to put that out. A secondary thing that we got from that was that it put the blame more on the players because, like Chase said, oh, if they lose 6 games in a row, they're gonna fire Keith. No, because everyone saw it's the players. Keith knows what the issue is, and they are blatantly ignoring him.
And I think last year, those kind of things is they're on one of the best starts they've had in a while. And he's like, guys, you're doing it wrong. I know we're winning. You're doing it wrong. You need to do it this way. You need to do better. And they were just rolling their eyes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, whatever. We're winning, dude. Like, whatever.
They literally showed Matthew, like, saying, like, what do you mean we're winning? Like, in the documentary. And it's like, that is a shit attitude.
And look how it turned out.
Exactly. So
I think
the pressure's off Keith. I mean, there's pressure on Keith. But the spotlight's on the players because it's like, no, everyone knows what the issue is. The organization knows what the issue is. It's you guys. It's in your heads. If we fucking lose again, it's the players, and you're the ones who are going to be out of here.
Yeah.
Which I really like that.
From being around some hockey players that play decent level, and then just being a fan for so long, regardless of what that documentary showed in that room, the first person to go is always the coach, regardless of what's going on.
But they already got rid of a coach 2 years ago. They got to fire another one?
Let's go back to Vegas in their second year. Before DeBoer came in as head coach, they were on like a 3 or 4 game heater. They were like multiple games above 500. They were like top in their division. They fired Gallant to bring DeBoer in.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do it, but something went wrong. There's some chemistry went wrong in the dressing room. Who goes first? The coach. They're always going to ask the coach first before any players because the GM does not want to sit there and go, uh-oh, I made a mistake. It's always going to be the coach that goes first.
But the coach, we did get rid of the coach first because they complained and said it was Babcock, so they got rid of Babcock. What do? The same fucking thing. We've already done the coach.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It's them now.
That is just the way that the hockey world goes.
I get it, but how many coaches do they have to go through before they say, "Oh, it's the players"?
Look at Edmonton.
Keith, they'll have a lot of history together.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
they are buddies. I don't think Dubas is gonna, especially if Dubas has to know that he is on the chopping block this year.
Absolutely.
If they don't perform, he's on the chopping block, and I don't think he's gonna mid-season be like, you know what? Sorry, buddy, you gotta go. We're gonna try and change it up. I think he's gonna go with him, and he's gonna go with the team he has. And if he gets kicked out, Keith's probably gonna go with him. But I don't think he gets fired mid-season. I think he sees the whole season.
I honestly see Keith going the entire year, but I'm just saying if there is going to be a big change, let's say midpoint, unless it's Dubas first, there might be pressure from up top to get rid of Keith, but I don't see that happening. I'm just saying, like, usually it's the coach that goes first and then GM in the offseason, unless you're Ron Hextall, who just gets the boot mid-season because, well, you suck.
Yeah.
Get out.
I totally agree with you, Chase, and that's why I was making the point that the documentary, what it showed, it kind of took that off of Keith, where it's like, no, like, this coach knows what he's doing, and he knows the issue with the team. They're just ignoring him. And it blatantly showed that the players ignoring him. So it's like, I get usually the coach goes first, but we saw back behind the scenes that the players are being told, hey, this is how we can win. They're like, we're winning. So, yeah. I mean, it might be coach plus players get taken out, but maybe. we'll see what happens. I mean, if we win a cup, then everyone stays and everyone's happy. Winning solves everything.
Number one. So where do you guys think the Leafs are going to end this year?
You can go first, Chase.
No, you want the non-Leaf guy to go? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You want me to start from the bottom up or top down?
Bottom.
Bottom? Well, Toronto is going to finish 4th. Mm-hmm. The reason why I think their goaltending is going to be suspect. Mm-hmm. The D's pretty same as last year, so it's one of their stronger D cores they've had in a while. But I don't think I have to go against you there, James. I don't think they added enough depth. They're kind of in the same area where Pittsburgh has been in the last few years, where they're adding pieces here and there, hoping it's going to work, and they are just falling short. Because you're going to have to look at Andre Kasha. That guy is a Band-Aid. You'll be lucky to, I think, and personally, you'll be lucky to get 35 games out of him. With his injury history, that's going to hurt the depth there. Mikheyev does come back in, but it all depends.
He's a fourth liner. I don't like Mikheyev. He's kind of.
I have useless. Tampa finishing 3rd.
Oh.
And I'm not like James, where I'm saying they're going to sit back. No. I don't think they're as good of a team as last year. They lost pieces, and they didn't improve them. They just replaced them with a cheaper version of each player.
I mean, they do have Kucherov back for a full season.
Kucherov's back, but Stamkos playing a full 82 game season, that's not going to happen.
No.
You're gonna be their backup goaltending. So if Vasilevsky goes down, to me it's worse having Brian Elliott than Curtis McElhinney.
Yeah, but you have Vasilevsky.
You can't run him dead, or he's gonna be shot for the playoffs. In an 82 game season,
make it. You only need enough wins to make it.
Okay, you make it into the playoffs, but if you kill your goalie, Leafs has shown it with Freddie Anderson over the last few years. You guys get there and he's dead. He's tired. But I do not see them three-peating. They make the playoffs and they are a contender for sure, but they're going to finish 3rd in the division because I agree. Florida, adding Sam Reinhart, that is going to push them over that little bubble they have. Spencer Knight in net, he is going to be huge. He's actually going to take over from Bob this year. So Florida's going to have a $10 million backup.
Oh my God,
which is bad.
It's so bad.
But Florida's team is just they're ready to go, and I think Boston takes the division. They have added so much forward depth. They are missing one D to really bring that D core in, probably a left defenseman. Because right now you got Forbert playing on the top pairing with McAvoy, which isn't bad because he was Doughty's defense partner in LA for one of the cup runs. But they're just missing that one defenseman, and I think Allmark is going to be better than what Rask is now. If this was Allmark and Rask both at 28, Rask is the clear winner, but Rask has been sliding a bit. Swayman is showing that he can be a starter, or he's going to get there. Allmark is ready to take the lead because he had above 900 save percentage last year playing for Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he had wins. He was the only winning goalie on that squad. So now that he's playing behind a defensive system that is good, he's got goal support. I honestly think Boston runs away with it because their 4 lines are deep.
They have a very deep team. I still don't trust the goaltending, though. Right? You look at some goalies do well under insane pressure and getting hammered on by 40 to 50 shots a night.
Freddie Anderson.
He might be one of those. Look at James Reimer. The guy does well when he's getting shot at constantly.
Just not high glove.
If Allmark isn't like that, he's going to be in trouble this year because Boston, like you said, they are defensive. They're going to shut down the zone, and he's going to get a lot less shots on net than what he's used to with Buffalo.
But I think that's going to be beneficial for Allmark.
It could be, or it could be worse.
But the other thing, though, too, is it's not going to be Allmark playing the majority of games that they have Rask. It's going to be like Allmark will play 1, then they'll go to Swayman, then Allmark will play 2, they'll go to Swayman. Unless Swayman comes out of the gate and pushes them like crazy, I see Allmark and Swayman being at 1-2. They have a chance at winning the Jennings Trophy, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah? You think so?
I think they have the ability to have the lowest goals against together. Like the tandem has the lowest goals against.
I don't know. I think maybe Campbell. Maybe take that one. If they stay healthy.
Campbell breaks his record.
That being said, Carolina could win that.
Bunch of jerks.
They could.
They could.
That squad's messed.
So, Brandon, who do you have? What's your top?
Okay, so you guys influenced me a little bit. I did make a slight change, and you guys know what it'll be when I say it. So Toronto's on the bottom. Um, if Montreal was, if Montreal stayed kind of what they were last year, I had thought that maybe Montreal could have kicked them out. That's how they're in the hardest division. That last year they were in the North Division, which we all know how well that turned out. It was the weakest division. They're in a much harder division this year. They're on paper they're not as good as they were last year. Um, they are going to make the playoffs now because there really is no one. There's 4 teams. There's a giant chasm, and then there's the other 4 teams. So they're going to make the four. They're going to make the fourth position. Florida's going to be third. Because, like you said, Sam Reinhart was a great pickup, and Spencer Knight, he's phenomenal. But my problem is that Spencer Knight's only 20, so he's still pretty young, and goalies don't really hit their peak for a couple more years after that. So he'll be good, but his backup is Sergei Bobrovsky, who once upon a time was a Vezina winner. He is very not. He is a $10-11 million paperweight at this point. He's bloody terrible. I would know. I had him in fantasy a couple years back. Dear God. Couldn't even drop him. So that's beside the point. What I changed, I put Tampa second. I had Tampa first when we talk about this, outside of the podcast. But just listening to you guys talk about Boston and Ullmark, and yeah, they're so deep, and Tampa did lose a step. They do have one of the 2 best goalies in the league. They have Vasilevsky, which don't bet against Vasilevsky. Like, he's just amazing. But they did lose a step, and their depth isn't as good as Boston, like you said. Boston's just all up and down the line. They're just solid. They can go for a cup run if they wanted this year, so I'm putting Boston on the top.
They can't. They're not. Boston is not going to go for a cup this year.
It's a possibility, man. They know how to play playoff hockey. I saw it for multiple years in a row. Granted, for only 1 round.
So did I. So I do want to mention one more thing. My top 4, I think, will be within 8 points from first to fourth.
It'll be close.
I think it's going to be a very tight, like within 1 or 2 points of each team. I think it's going to be a very tight top 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, no, I feel the same way.
So I'm just saying, we're not coming in the top.
I think my top 3. Honestly, the top 3, my Tampa, Boston, Florida, they could up and down the line wherever. And in Toronto, I don't think they'll be top, but they could probably get third. But I'm going with what I went: Boston, Tampa, Florida, Toronto.
You guys foam fingers when they finish first. When they finish first, I'm buying you guys foam fingers.
Okay.
The big one sticking up.
I hear foam fingers make great kindling, so thank you.
And I'll bring you a number 1 foam finger, but I'll make it out of 4. I'll make it a 4, and I'll give that to you.
All right. So what? So outside the Leafs, outside their division, who else are you guys excited to see? Like what other teams are you excited to watch here?
Well,
I'm gonna go off the board with mine.
All right.
LA Kings.
Okay, why? I want to hear this.
Oh, buddy, I did some extensive research into this. Main reason why they have the best crop of prospects that are going to be coming up over the next few years than any other team in the league. I'm saying that above the Avs, who have a solid prospect pool, but LA has phenomenal. I'm gonna rattle off some names, and I'll go back to just some key guys and I kind of just break down some points. But right now they got Alex Turcotte, Arthur Kaliev, Anderson Dolan, Quentin Byfield, Gabe Velarde, Elias Anderson, Calvin Peterson I put in there even though he's already there. But then there's Sean Dursey, Akil Thomas, who scored the big gold medal winning goal in the World Juniors 2 or 3 years ago. And there's a few other, there's one Finnish kid, I'm forgetting the name, and one Swedish kid as well. This talent pool is just ridiculous. And just going back and touch on a few, last year in the AHL, as an 18-year-old, which you don't normally see, you have to be at least 19 or 20, but because of the whole COVID lockout for the OHL, Arthur Kaliev, former Bulldog here in Hamilton, played 40 games and led the team in scoring with 31 points in the NHL as an 18-year-old. His shot is elite. He's going to be very similar to Ovi on the power play. He sits on that half wall just in that circle, and the one timer and his wrist shot are just next world. Quentin Byfield played 32 games, 20 points. Gabe Vilardi, who in the last preseason game for LA had, I think it was 2 goals and assist or a hat trick. I forget. He had 3 points. Okay. But he had 64 games, 30 points with LA last year, as I believe he was a 20-year-old. And Alex Turcotte, who was a 5th overall pick in 2019, had 32 games in the AHL with 21 points. Okay. And Turcotte was a 5th overall, Kaliev 33rd, Gabe Vilardi 11th, Byfield 2nd, Elias Sanderson 7th overall pick, and the list just keeps going. Like, this team is going to be high octane.
Byfield's supposed to be playing on the 4th line this year too.
Yeah, and that shows you the talent. He's got a fractured ankle right now, but when he comes back, he's going to be a bottom 6 forward because there's so much talent in that team. They got to maneuver people around just to see.
Well, and they got the greatest defenseman in the league too.
Oh, here we go.
You got my favorite player, Drew Doughty, who had a great year last year. Going to the Olympics this year, I think they're going to be an interesting team to watch.
Absolutely.
Especially with what Dustin Brown did last year too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm excited to see. LA will be. They're going to be one of those fringe teams in the Pacific where it's going to be. Are they a wild card or are they going to miss? They won't be in the top 3 in that Pacific, but they're going to be a team that's going to fight for one of those 2 wild card spots. So it's going to be an interesting race down that stretch.
I think they're fighting for the bottom wild card spot.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think anything higher than that. But 2 or 3 years from now, different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so for sure. What are you, Brian? What team are you excited to see?
Bunch of jerks. Carolina, my second favorite team in the league.
Everyone's second favorite team in the league.
Because they're fun. Some people in the NHL, like the GMs and stuff, man, they don't believe in fun anymore. But I don't know if any of you guys followed the Carolina Hurricanes Twitter this summer, but it was fun. Offer Sheet Kotkaniemi changed their Twitter bio to French. Friggin' hilarious. Oh,
they put a picture of the reverse Uno card.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, they are. They're an entertaining bunch. Yeah. They are.
And a solid team. A solid young team.
Yeah. If their goaltending holds up.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. So you got Freddie Anderson, which, Felician, we loved Freddie Anderson. We loved him. Still do. But, man, his last couple years weren't great.
No. Last year wasn't great.
He wasn't great. He wasn't He wasn't amazing. He was okay, but he wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't top tier.
No.
And that's not great. And his backup's Antti Ranta, who that's all right. But
Antti Ranta. Okay, so here's I looked this up earlier today. Any season Antti Ranta has played more than 30 games, he's had a .921 save percentage and higher.
Yeah.
Interesting.
On Arizona.
Oh.
2 of the 3 years were on Arizona. He had like a .921 and a .922 or a .930 on Arizona. So the guy can play. It's can he stay healthy?
So yes, that's the big question for both goalies. Can they stay healthy?
So
that's the one thing that. Sorry, Wilkes.
I was just gonna say, we kind of agree that their goalies are at least like good, not amazing. And like you were saying, if they can stay healthy, kind of like the Leafs issue, if both of them can stay healthy, that's a decent tandem.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen there is it's going to be the same thing with the Bruins. Probably the same thing as the Leafs. You're going to see one come out ahead as a starter, so my guess is going to be Freddie Anderson, just because he's got the most experience as a starter right now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of back and forth. You're going to see one game Freddie, one game Ranta, and it's going to go back and forth. Because the one thing that puzzled me the most, though, because they made some good moves with the offer sheet of Cockney. You bring in a good player, overpayment in my opinion, but we'll touch on that.
Yeah.
But they traded Nedeljkovic to Detroit for practically nothing. I think it was, I forget what the trade was. I know there was a pick involved, but either way, you traded away a future starter who's going to be a starter to Detroit, and now you've just given them two great young goalies in Nedeljkovic, and they got Caden Fulcher coming up from the A.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go with two older goalies that have injury history. Why not keep Nedeljkovic, not sign Tony DeAngelo, so you can have you have that $1 million to give to Nedeljkovic, and then you have Ranta come in as the backup, or you sign Freddie as the backup, and then you run a very good veteran backup with a great young talent that's going to be a star. That's what just confused me with what they did over the offseason.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's fair. I actually like the signing of DeAngelo. I think it's worth taking a risk on. I think it's worth taking. He could be incredible. He's only $1 million, and if it doesn't work out, you drop him.
It's $1 million.
It's
in the words of Dodgeball, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works.
I think to work. I think minus their goalies, they are, if not the top, one of the top teams. Like they are a top 4 team in the entire NHL. They're
going to push for the President's Trophy again.
Sorry?
They're going to push for the President's Trophy again.
Absolutely, they are. They said their only question mark, whether they get it or not, is their goaltending.
Yeah.
They have the offense, they have the defense to do it. Can the goaltenders stay healthy? And if they can't, can at least one of them stay healthy at a time?
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
It seems both of those goalies actually do better, because I didn't know that about Antti Ranta. But it's kind of interesting. Both goalies seem to play better when they play a ridiculous amount of games. Because I remember Freddie tended, if he wasn't playing like 60 games of the year, he kind of sucked when he was just coming in. Like he even said he enjoyed playing. Okay, not sucked, but he played much better when he was playing consecutive games. Like when he was playing like 60 games and the backup was playing like 20. Right? He likes playing a lot of games because he says it keeps him warm.
Yeah.
Until he gets injured.
And then a little too warm.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see what's going to happen there. But he does play a lot of games.
Yeah.
And especially on those games when we didn't have a strong backup.
Yeah. It's a shame we got one after he left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? We wouldn't have got as good of a backup as we did with him.
No.
Because we'd be paying way too much money on goaltenders.
No, I agree.
That's the one thing I love about the Leafs setup right now is how inexpensive 2 goalies are.
Yeah, it's inexpensive. It's just we have to make sure that they're kind of unproven. I mean, I guess you can't say Jack Campbell's unproven because he had a phenomenal year last year, but
Jack Campbell is unproven. I would say Mrazek is the more proven goaltender.
He is.
Yeah.
But Campbell had a good year.
He did. So you do have to start him, just based on what he did last year.
Oh, yeah. You start Campbell, and as I said, he had the better year last year out of the 2 because Mrazek dealt with a hand injury, and then if I remember correctly, it was a lower body that kept him out the back half. Mm-hmm. But then you look at how Carolina's built. Freddie Anderson has the pedigree for a starter. You got to start him, and then Ranta becomes the guy that pushed him because he was great in Chicago. Got the opportunity to go to New York. He looked to be the starter, got beat out because Lundqvist decided to turn it up again. That guy is ageless except for his heart. And then he goes to Arizona, same thing. He's going to be the starter. Injuries happen. Kemper goes there. Aiden Hill shows up. He just keeps getting stuck in the snare where every time he thinks he's a starter, there's an injury or another goalie that picks the play up. Yeah. And now I think he's got the best opportunity here to win the contest. But that's got to be if Freddie gives it up, which now that he's got time to heal, a goalie that can help him out.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see Freddie giving up without one hell of a fight.
Yeah. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to move on to another team.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What are the Seattle Kraken?
The Seattle Kraken are a below average team that are going to end up right in the middle of the pack. But big things are going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. They've got salary right now. They're going to have space. I mean, like right now they have around $5 million in cap space.
6.7.
Is it 6.7?
6.7.
Okay.
And $1.
Coming into this year, they got Giordano, whose contract's ending, which is 6.75 million. Like that's a lot of space that they're opening up there. I think they are potential for a wild card this year, but I wouldn't put any money on it. Yeah, I'm saying it's potential. They could, but I don't think it'll be anything too big. Like I wouldn't expect them to go anywhere past the first round.
I wouldn't. If I were them, I wouldn't want to. I would. You got a bunch of. I mean, to be fair, they did a pretty good job getting guys with term. Now that I'm looking at their cap friendly.
Also, I was going to say the opposite. I don't think they did.
Well, they got a bunch of like smaller guys with 1-year deals, but you know they got Jaden Schwartz on 5 years, Yanni Gord, who's still a solid player, 4 years, Alexander Wenberg 3 years, Jonas Dunsky 2 years.
They're core.
But here's the thing, though. Here's a big thing. They got Grubauer for 6 years.
Yeah.
That's great to have.
Almost $6 million.
But it's Philip Grubauer's a solid goaltender. Like that's a great goaltender you can build around.
This is where I chime in on Grubauer. Yes, he had a great year and he played well in Colorado. He's only played 1 full season with them because he got hurt the year before in the bubble. He had 1 good season. Vezina candidate, arguably should have won it. But again, the injury, he had a little bit of an injury bug there mid-season. And now you're paying him off of really maybe a full year combined between the bubble season and the shortened season, and you're giving him $5.9 million over 6.
Yeah.
He wasn't a starter until he got to Colorado because he was given the mail in Washington, won that cup run, but he fell apart and Holtby came in and won it. So a lot of people will sit there, well, you're a Colorado fan. How can you say this is a risk? It's still a risk. He hasn't proven himself to be that guy that deserves, so we'll round up and say $6 million.
Well, that's the thing. You're a Colorado fan. You know what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've watched him more than James or I have.
The contract, it could pan out, though.
Absolutely.
The contract could be a solid buy.
He could step up and play as well as he did last year, and now $6 million or $5.9 million looks good for him.
Especially...
Right? It could pan out.
They still have $6.7 million in cap space. They did good there. They have a bunch of draft picks. I mean, it could be worse. They could have Bobrovsky for $11 million for 5 more years. And, like...
Yeah, but I don't know. The goaltending for me there is still going to be suspect because Chris Driedger is the backup.
Yeah.
He played behind a pretty stacked Florida team. Now you're going to Seattle, which they have some good young talent in the back end. And they got some decent talent, but there's no perennial all-star on this squad where you can sit there and go, oh yeah, like he's wicked. Like Alberle, okay, he's good.
Mm-hmm.
Giordano, he's good.
He's good in the regular season.
Yeah, but it's a lot of, in my opinion, like a lot of what I call top 9 guys, where you're not necessarily like a line 1 or a line 2. You can just float. It can work. It can't. Like it's interesting to see how this is going to break down.
Yeah, they're going to be a fun team to watch.
Oh yeah, and they have arguably the best jerseys in the league.
I second that. I love those jerseys. You don't like them?
I'm not a huge fan of them. I think Edmonton Oilers have the best jerseys.
They're also up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think Seattle. I hope they surprise me. I hope they do much better. But I think they're dead smack in the middle of the. Nothing fantastic, nothing terrible. Just kind of right down the middle.
As you guys said, they have cap space, so I've almost wondered if they position themselves like this for a reason. Take a handful of like the 1-year contracts, let the cap fall, and then when all the other teams are scrambling around trying to jettison money because the cap's not going up, they can sit back and go, okay, we're going to take you, we're going to take you, we're going to take you, and then all of a sudden they become a powerhouse like Vegas, but they did it differently. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, as James said, 2-3 years down the road, and how they start piecing together the rest of the squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think we got to look longer than 1 year on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's finish it off. I got a couple questions for Chase on Colorado.
I was gonna say, like, let's hand it off to him for Colorado.
What's gonna happen here, dude? Like, is this their year to win the Stanley Cup? And if they don't, what happens?
So, been going through some of the stuff. I'm going to start off, if they don't at least get to the third round, or even the conference, if they don't get to the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals, guaranteed, you'll probably, I'm going to call it now, Bednar is getting fired.
Okay.
Again, it's going to be one of those things where the coach goes first. But again, you've been given this talent, you've been there enough, but you got to get them, you got to push them over that hump. However, after I saw some of the moves in the offseason, losing Graves, losing Timmins, losing Sod, watching Donskoy go to Seattle, I'm sitting there going, there's not the and P.E. Belmar. I'm like, they haven't replaced anyone. But then I was going through last night and looking at the projected lineup. They're just as deep.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not better, with just pure speed and skill now. They're going to be able to run 4 lines that can actually score, and their fourth line will be able to bruise some people, which is going to be great. So I think this is the best they've looked, in my opinion, all around. And I think this is their year to do it. Because you have Kemper, who I think is an upgrade from Grubauer, because he's proven himself as a starter.
I wanted Kemper so bad for the Leafs. So bad.
Yeah. A lot of teams wanted him.
Oh, he's so bloody good.
The only thing that worries me is Kemper does have a bit of an injury history. Yes. And right now, our backup, Pavel Francouz, who I don't know if many people would remember or paid attention to the last Winter Olympics in, what was it, 2018?
No, they didn't play in it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, 2018 was the last Winter Olympics. Francouz was the starter for the Czech team that got them into the gold medal final.
How long is he injured? Because he's on the IR right now. Because I was confused because I was looking at him like, why is Jonas Johansson your backup? But
now, there's no specific time frame. It sounds like it could be like 2 weeks, could be 3, because it's a lower body injury, but it has nothing to do with the injury he had last year.
Okay.
So hopefully it's not a long one, because as much as I love Jonas Johansson in net, he still needs to prove himself a little bit more.
Right. So I guess here's my next question then is, what happens, I guess, 2-3 years from now? Is the team gone from what it is today? Because, as we just mentioned, their contracts are up this year. You got Kadri's contract up this year. Burakovsky's contract's up this year. The following year, you've got McKinnon's contract's up. Johnson's contract's up. Like, I don't know if you can take so many hometown discounts, but I don't know if you can take that many.
Yeah.
No. So what I would see, in my opinion, Kadri would go, because you have Newhook, you have Shane Bowers, Martin Kaut, all that can come up and play in that top 6 role. So that's not a big deal. You'd have to go out and keep Burakovsky, because he doesn't quarterback, but he's a big piece of that second power play unit with Samuel Girard and Devon Taves.
What does that contract look like?
Oh, for Burakovsky?
Yeah. Like, after this year?
For a re-sign, depending on what he does this year, if he puts up another career number year, he's going to be upwards of 6 to 7, in my opinion.
He's 4.9 right now.
And unless they can talk to him and say, hey, take 5.5. But I doubt it.
Okay.
But
I didn't realize you could do that. I didn't know you could talk to people and have them take less.
Well, look at Landeskog. There was rumors he was signing elsewhere for 8.5, 9.
Dude, I am joking with you, man.
He ended up coming back to Colorado for that contract. The one that scares me, though, is going to be Nathan McKinnon's contract.
Oh, I know you have 2 years left with that sweetheart deal, but once that's up, like, he says he's going to take less again, but I think it's going to be depending on this year, really, because if he
puts up a 100-point year, I don't think there's a hometown discount.
Well,
there won't.
I think it also has to do with the team success. Like if they go to the Cup Finals this year again, and next year they do third round Cup Final again, then maybe he's
there's,
like,
there's a possibility.
like if the team's doing phenomenal, then he might do it. If you guys start to go downhill because of all these contracts and you have to actually start paying people, then he's like, hey guys, like I can't take $6 million and being the third best player in the league. It just doesn't make sense.
His contract, regardless, is going to be at least very, very minimum 9.5, because he has to be paid more than Rantanen.
Yeah,
I'm saying that's going to be that's going to be the very, very least.
Oh, I think he's minimum 10. I think he's hitting double digits no matter.
Especially
for
in
me,
2
though,
years.
Personally, he hits 10 for sure.
Yeah.
Because you look around the league, you look at the other thing though, it's gonna, because what's Draisaitl at 10.25 or 10.5?
Something like that. I can check that for you.
I think the thing that worries me about Colorado is they're a cup contending team this year. Within 2 years, they could be a completely different team.
They could be, but it could be the exact same thing as what Tampa and Pittsburgh's done, where they start rolling pieces in and out. But that's going to be the thing. This is where drafting comes in, because they also have Oscar Olsson right now in Barrie, who almost made the starting lineup this year as an 18-year-old.
Hey guys,
well, he's coming.
Do you know how? I didn't realize how much Draisaitl's being paid. Do you take a guess on how much he's being paid? Keep in mind he's got 4 years left on this.
I thought he was at 10.25 or 10.5.
What do you think, James?
10.75.
You know what? Good for the Oilers. He's being paid 8.5.
Is he really?
Yeah, 8.5 for 4 more years.
That's a good contract.
That's a great contract.
Well, I mean, they had to give money to McDavid, so they just pulled it from one to the other.
They're paying Zach Hyman. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was going to say, are they paying Zach Hyman more than him? No, they're not.
No. But that's going to be the big thing, is that if they can get McKinnon to make sure, as long as he doesn't go into the McDavid money, there's going to be ways around it. It's going to be, because McCarr's locked up for 6.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Samuel Girard, to me, if he tries to, granted, he's locked up for 5, but if he wants more money, there's Bo Byram, who's right behind that, can take Girard's spot in a heartbeat, in my opinion. But it's gonna be when the goaltending comes up. That's gonna be if they're gonna keep Kemper, or if this was a 1-year rental. Yeah. But giving up a first in Connor Timmins, you better extend him by mid-season. Absolutely. So that way you have him for a while.
Yeah,
you're extending him. He's getting paid more than $3.5 million.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he's gonna get at least 5.5 for sure, hands down.
Which is gonna make your salary cap a lot harder.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think they're hoping Jonas Johansson steps up this year, because then you can get him cheap at like $1 million, $1.5 million, so that way it balances everything out. Because Francouz,
he's 2 right now.
I'm scared that these injuries, he's done. Like, he's not going to come back the same, and he'll end up back in the Czech league, just because it's a lesser schedule. It's not as demanding. It's better for his body, kind of thing. So
that makes sense.
It'd be interesting to see, but right now their top 7D is just gross as well.
Yeah, they are. They're a dominant team. They absolutely are, and I think they have a chance at the semifinals of the playoffs.
Yeah. I fully agree.
Except, Vegas.
Yeah, they came, like, Vegas came in tired. I get that for round 2, but the way the Avs played game 1, they came out and they just throat stomped them.
Yeah.
And game 2, they let up. Game 3, they tried to play too much like Vegas, and then it was downhill. If they had just kept going the way they did from game 1 into game 2, that series ends differently. Yeah. And then if Kadri doesn't get suspended again.
Oh, isn't that great? We can all relate to that.
I know.
But I will argue, I don't think that was an 8-game suspension. It's 8 games regardless. It happened. but the one that did piss me off in that series, Ryan Reeves drives his knee into Ryan Graves' head on the ice, which to me it's a headshot. Same thing as Kadri. Yeah. How many games does he get? Gets the deuce.
I think
Reeves has the history too.
Yeah.
Give him 8.
I think I think everybody agrees on this that the reffing last year was probably the worst it's been in years. I mean, the whole thing with McDavid. There's compilations online of McDavid being hooked and like literally people jumping on his back, and he got no penalties.
And which, if you think about it, that's the guy that should be drawing the most penalties.
Absolutely. That won't happen again. Like, there's so much ref controversy last year. What with the guy, I do not remember the man's name. The one who got essentially fired for looking for makeup calls. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that. The playoffs last year were probably the worst officiated I've ever seen. Like,
yes,
playoffs are normally, you know, you can get away with a lot of stuff.
Was the worst.
Yeah. But you could get away with a lot of stuff. But last year, it was just so inconsistent. There would be one game where you can cross-check someone in the face and punch him in the head. Nothing. But the next game, you could like look at a guy weird and you get in the box.
Yeah.
It just made no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with the start of the NHL tonight.
Hey James, you cut off a little bit there. You want to repeat that, buddy?
Yeah. Hopefully with the start of the NHL this year, this year's different. Right, we'll see what happens.
This is gonna be an interesting year. It's gonna be a full 82 game season. I'm more than excited.
Yeah, so am I. I'm excited what everyone's gonna do this year.
So just to give you guys a heads up quickly, and because whoever's gonna listen see this late, whenever it launches, I think it's tomorrow night. You plan, or Thursday night you plan on sending it out. Pittsburgh won 6-2 against the defending Stanley Cup champions. There's a possibility for a Stanley Cup hangover, but granted though, usually the banner night, you never know what you're going to get out of both teams. And right now, at the end of one, Vegas is up 2-0 on Seattle.
You're also talking about a Pittsburgh team without Malkin and Crosby.
Without Malkin and Crosby. And Danton Heinen, whoever had that on your bingo card for who's going to score the first goal of the year, he's the one that buried the first one of the 2021-2022 season for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's interesting.
There you go. It'll be an interesting year. I'm excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, guys... we should set a precedence here for whoever's listening to this first one, if they're interested in what's going to go on. We are recording this Tuesday, October 12th. We probably won't be recording Tuesdays. I believe we talked about this. What days would you like to record?
Wednesdays, I think.
So we will be recording.
I think Wednesdays.
Yes. So we talked about this earlier. I just want to make sure. So we will be recording Wednesday nights. Podcast should be up late Wednesday, early Thursday. So you'll have that for your Thursday morning commute home. Hopefully, worst case, your Thursday lunch. So between now and then, we have the Leafs are playing the Canadiens tomorrow night. Then we have the Leafs playing the Senators. Leafs playing the Senators again. Leafs playing the Rangers. And that is it until the following Friday. So before we go, how do you guys think we're going to do against the Canadiens, Sens, and the Rangers, essentially?
I already told you. They're going 6-0 off the start.
6-0 off the start.
You can expect 4 wins in the next...
I think their toughest one will be the Rangers.
Absolutely.
If there wasn't as many injuries right now with Montreal, with having Hoffman still out, Price being on the mental health leave, I would be flipping and saying Montreal would be your toughest matchup, but I think the Rangers right now would be your toughest go. So I could see maybe James saying 6-0. I could see 5-1, but 2 games against Ottawa, that should be a cakewalk.
Should be. Didn't go that way last year.
No.
So we'll see what happens. But I'm pretty confident. 4-0.
4-0. Oh boy, if I can find where I saved this. I saw this today. Did either of you see Nick Suzuki got signed?
Big contract.
Yes.
He got paid. Was it 8 years, 7 point? It's either 7.675 or 7.875.
I had it saved on my on my phone, but it is being a bit of a pain right now, so I'm just gonna look it up on Cap Friendly really quick.
It kicks in next year, correct?
Yeah, this is the last year on his entry level. And I was actually talking to one of my buddies who's a Habs fan, and I told him, actually, it was yesterday, they need to lock up Suzuki on a decent contract this year before the end of the year, because I think he's going to have him and Caulfield together and rotating into Foley and Hoffman.
Yep.
They have the possibility to put up some numbers this year.
He's making 7.875 for 8 years.
To me, that's a good contract.
That's a good contract.
For Suzuki.
Yeah.
And he still has this year. He's still making league min.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's good. They got him locked up for 9 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is a good contract.
Next is Caulfield next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, guys. I think that's it for tonight. If anyone else wants to bring anything up before we go, no.
We're all good.
No, I think we're set.
All right, guys. So we will be here again next Wednesday. Do a recording. We'll talk about the 4 games coming up from then till here till now, and hopefully James is right. We're 4-0 when it comes to next Wednesday. All right, guys.
Wait.
Have a good night, everybody.